Bom dia. Conseguem-me ouvir todos? Eu vou só assim dizer umas palavras muito rapidamente em português, mas o evento vai ser em inglês, até porque os nossos convidados aqui da mesa não percebem português, mas queria desde já agradecer-vos em nome da Cosmic Era a possibilidade de estarem aqui e de termos marcado isto assim um bocadinho cedo, obrigando-vos a sair de casa assim com alguma antecedência. O meu nome é Helena Valente. E pronto, vou fazer aqui um hosting durante o dia, mas se calhar então agora, para deixar os nossos convidados mais confortáveis, vamos passar para inglês. Depois no final, se houver tempo, podemos fazer algumas questões. Se alguém não estiver confortável em colocar as questões em inglês, não há problema nenhum, colocam em português e nós fazemos a tradução. Sorry, I was just doing a small introduction in Portuguese and thanking people for joining us today here. Like I said, my name is Helena. I'm here representing Cosmic Care, which is a non-profit association that works with and for people that use drugs. And today we will take the opportunity of having some of our international partners here with us to discuss a little bit how drug checking became nowadays an evidence-based and mainstream response for public health. And we're far away from the 60s when it began in the outskirts of harm reduction as quite a controversial response for people that use drugs. And fortunately, we made quite a long path of building evidence and good results for harm reduction and for monitoring. And my guests today are some of the people that most contributed to this path that we had. So without further delay, I'm just going to present our panel. I'll present all of you, and then I believe Margot will start. And then if you have questions, I would ask you to save them for the end. So we have with us over there in my right, Margot Balkan. She's the project coordinator of Scanner, which is a European project that's looking into understanding the dynamics and the consequences of new psychoactive substances in a rapidly changing online market. She is also an active scientist for the Belgium Early Warning System on Drugs, and the main focus is monitoring the drug situation in Belgium and reporting on national and international level. The idea is to build, maintain, and strengthen situational awareness and preparedness towards emerging drug trends. In 2020, Margot obtained her master's degree in pharmaceutical science, and she works in a local pharmacy, and she's part of the board of director of a student festival in Ghent. So she has a lot of field and research experience, and she's going to share a little bit with us what's this Scanner project and what we've been doing these last years in terms of monitoring. Thank you, Margot.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for the introduction, Helena. Is it already being shared, the screen, or should I already still share it?
Tiago, can Margot share the screen directly?
Yes. It's not.
I need to, yeah. I think. Okay, great. Good morning. So.
You need to do that thing to share again. It's sharing your non-open format. Sorry. You got it?
I don't know the.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
This because
Alweer de.
here.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So yeah, good morning again. I will today tell you a little bit about the European project Scanner. In general, I wanted to tell you that this project is funded by the European Union Justice Project. This is to support drug policy initiatives. The timeline of our project is February 2020 until the end of November 2022. This project is a collaboration between different European projects, such as Belgium, Spain, Austria, Portugal, Poland, Germany, and Slovenia. SCONER is actually acronym for Understanding the Dynamics and Consequences of New Psychoactive Substances in a Rapidly Changing Online Market. It's a big title, I know, and that's why I want to tell you a little bit more about what we want to do with this project. To sum it up, we really would like to increase the knowledge on NPS, on new psychoactive substances. We would like increase preparedness and strengthen awareness towards NPS, and we want to build and improve our network to collect up-to-date information and also share this information. Now I'll go a little bit more in depth what we will specifically do. So one of the things is that there is little information available regarding the effects of banning certain substances. So it happened a lot in the last few years that some type of NPS got banned, but we don't really know what the influence of this is. This is why we will do web scraping on darknet markets and compare the listings and the sales before and after legislation to actually know what the influence of this banning is. Second, we would like to investigate substances bought online. So we went to look at clearnet markets and we bought some batches of samples and we looked at price, quality and availability. And we also wanted to answer the question, does the presumed identity as it has been sold online also match the real identity? Because it happens that this doesn't add up. So it's also a question we try to answer. Next to that, we wanted to improve analysis. So we wanted to evaluate if drug checking services are capable of analyzing NPS, and we wanted to support each other in this. So we want to set up some minimum requirements a drug checking service should have or should do to correctly identify NPS, and we also wanted to help each other optimize our procedures. Next to that, we also looked into some fentanyl deliverables, so some topics regarding fentanyl, because at the time the project was written, fentanyl was really trending on the market, and that's why this was set up. So we would like to establish the presence of fentanyl in heroin chain in Europe, and we also want to evaluate if fentanyl test kits could be used as a tool in harm reduction, so people can detect if there's fentanyl in their product, yes or no, and this could really improve harm reduction as well. And the last thing I would like to say is that we want to know to what extent civil society organizations are confronted with NPS users. So we have set up a collaboration with PIN's peer projects in nightlife settings, Yoda low threshold settings, and Face Out Drug helplines. So people that are really in touch with people who use drugs, and we want to support them in collecting prevalence data, because this is not done on a routine basis. So we would like to help them standardize their surveys and do the monitoring on a more regular basis, so we can actually improve reliable data collection, which is important in dealing with challenges posed by NPS. Today I elaborated on what we would like to do. I hope by the end of November to tell you what we achieved with this project, but for today I'll keep it at this. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Margot, for your presentation and for sharing what we're trying to establish. And then by the end, if anyone has any particular question also on the products and the outcomes being developed, we can open the floor. Next, we will have with us Anton Loof. He's a pharmacist and a scientist at the Medical University of Vienna, and he focused on the analysis of illicit psychoactive substances. Additionally, Anton develops analytical methods for clinical studies. He's the head of the laboratory of the Austrian drug checking project CheckIt, and his function and major responsibility is the development and the implementation of analytical techniques of on-site drug checking in the Vienna nightlife. And Anton's going to share with us a little bit of what they're doing in Austria, which is quite cutting edge and very interesting.
Thank you very much for the introduction. It's like cutting edge is always something. Okay. Well, I think in this project we figured out that every one of us is capable of the objectives that we've just heard to meet those requirements. I want to dive a little bit into the analytical techniques, not too much, I'm not going to scare you with that, but present and future perspectives, and especially a little bit of the pandemic situation that has changed quite a lot when it came to drug checking in Vienna and in Austria. But we're a drug checking project from Vienna and funded by the city of Vienna and the Ministry of Health in Austria. Okay, so does it work?
Yeah.
Great. So this is actually usually my starting slide. As I usually say, we do integrated drug checking, and it's analytical and toxicological measures that we combine with psychosocial interventions, which we call integrated drug checking. So we have substance analysis for service users, and we convey individual risk categorization on a very small scale, because there's limited time for that in a party setting usually, and then we go to festivals and music clubs and things like that. But we always combine it with psychosocial interventions. This is one of our prerequisites for calling it integrated drug checking. So there's always psychosocial interventions as our counseling when we do that. Which also information about substances and advice and support, and also ongoing support. So this is not quality control for consumers, service users. It's always embedded in a framework of measurements for harm reduction. But when we go on, this is how a little bit archaic. We have a laboratory bus, and we drive to those festivals, and there we have like our analytical equipment in, and it's quite cozy, as they would say. But at the moment, if we go to the next slide, then we'll see that. Okay, so, summing up what we did, we started in 1997 with mobile drug checking. In 2006, we got our drop-in shop as well in Vienna, and in 2020 we started with stationary drug checking. Was already on the way. There's two different systems that we have. We have the drop-in shop, and we also have a collaboration with community pharmacies in Vienna. We have the two community pharmacies that we are collaborating with, where people can drop off their samples and submit it for analysis, which was a little bit of a pilot project in the beginning, but during the pandemic situation, it turned out that this was one of the best ways to keep up drug checking during this pandemic situation. And if we go to the next slide, we had lockdowns in Vienna and in Austria, but in Vienna especially, it was very strict. People were not allowed to leave their house without a good purpose, meaning going to the doctor, going to the pharmacy, which turned out to be a really good thing, or going to work, if it was possible, if people were not sent to home office and everything. So what we were actually coming from, mobile drug checking on festivals and mobile harm reduction, was absolutely impossible. But if we go to the next slide, no, this is actually, sorry. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's I changed how they were supposed to go. But the problem was that originating from mobile drug checking, we were not yet fully ready to switch the system. But what happened is, would people stop consuming substances during this pandemic situation? And of course, we all know the answer is no. And we did our little survey. This would be the next slide I wanted to show, but it will come later. So people actually did not even consume less substance. We did a small survey internationally. There are as many publications now that show like different results, but at least people were not consuming less substances. And also what we've realized is that people, of course, they're not going to take party drugs that we were, or party drugs on parentheses. in home office or in a lockdown situation, they would go to pick substances like, for example, cannabis. And there's a small hook to that and a small problem with that, because at the same time as this lockdown came, we don't know the real reason for that, why things happened like that. If we switch now to I'll just, because I think exactly. So this is actually what I wanted to show, that most people were consuming more substances. Small survey, but at least we wanted to like see what's happening in Vienna. More, they're consuming more often, and they're consuming more often cannabis. And what we saw, and this is like very like drawn from the media, the local media and the international media, substances, cannabis use went up, and what did we see? Synthetic cannabinoids in normal cannabis. CBD cannabis, THC cannabis. And from an analytical perspective, and I want to go a little bit into that side, that is a huge shift from going to mainly pure substances. And I don't know if there's any forensic toxicologists around here. Usually we're not dealing with a matrix like if we have urine, if we have blood or serum, then we have our means to circumvent that matrix. But plant material is horrific, and if, from my point of view, but then we don't only have the plant material, we have a highly potent substance, or highly potent substances as synthetic cannabinoids that have like the potency 100 times of the natural stuff, actually, that you have to find in the haystack, in that plant forest. Okay, and here we see there is, I think it's ADP butinaca in a cannabis sample. It's just sprayed on it. The question was, how do we find that, and how do we like circumvent? How do we really make sure that we don't overlook these substances? Because it's like if you overlook a substance and you say this sample is cannabis, and you don't find the substance, and it actually contains a highly potent substance that is also connected to many, maybe also casualties, then you're not doing harm reduction, you're doing the opposite. So this is one of the nicer samples, and here we have one that is actually quite, that was quite a mean one, because the substance was MDMB, 4-en pinaca. People, I guess, have been stumbling across that name. And it was like there we have the delta 9 THC, and here we have the small peak of the substance that we were suspecting to be in that sample. So we already have, we were lucky in Vienna, and we always say that we're lucky because we have analytical techniques connected to the University of Vienna. That give us the possibility to keep on developing our methods and finding those substances. And it actually really paid off that we already invested a lot into especially mass spectrometry, and in specific mass spectrometry that with ion trap and high resolution mass spectrometry, which enables us to like take away the hay and find the needle. And this is actually what we do. Of course, not in a mobile setting, but this is what we prepared, and we were lucky that we were exactly on time with that development of synthetic cannabinoids. But what we figured, and this is like an overall topic for all analysis in this kind of sector, is a combination of analytical techniques is always mandatory, which we also learned in our project that it's like a nice evidence for that one technique alone doesn't do the trick. And especially cannabis is not ecstasy, ecstasy is not cocaine, and everything. So you have like different settings, different matrices. You have everything, you have different users and different needs. The only thing it's always necessary is we have to be able to detect the substance that the major ingredient, pharmacological, the active ingredient, and that's why we're investing a lot also in analytical techniques. And as we can see, this is like quite an old device already, but it's our MALDI HRMS. What it shows that it's completely different to mobile drug checking, because there you can, if you want to load this machine into, bring it to a festival, I think you maybe need 2 trucks or something like that. Transport costs 10,000 euros for that device. Okay, thank you. But with this setup, what we could do is we were completely flabbergasted, as we learned that word recently, that so many different substances are to be found in these plant material samples that we receive, because that has never happened before. I mean, drug checking was usually synthetic substances in tablets, powders, and everything, and then we were facing like cannabis. It's like okay, drug is a different setting, different service users and everything, different needs, different harm reduction measures. But here we had highly potent substances mixed into that, and no one was aware of that. And just really experiencing side effects that they were not expecting. And this is only 2021 data, and I think it's like, I didn't count it, 6 to 8 substances, different ones that we've seen in those samples. And so we were very happy that we actually got notice of that on time. And this was only possible because we have this international collaboration with the EMCDDA, with our TEDI network, with our scanner project, with all the focal points, and taking together this data, the trends that are coming up. We're on the forefront and we see them, and we don't want to make any mistakes. We don't want to overlook any substance. So it was really necessary that we that we inform each other of things like that, and as fast as possible. And within a few days, we all reanalyzed our cannabis samples and just, okay, yes, we detected it from November on. And so the question is, what is the future of drug checking then? Like, considering this, we're party pills and everything still exist. Ecstasy is changing again. This was our main topic. First, the concentration went up, cocaine is going up, and now we have this other phenomenon. And so the complexity is rising, and we have to adapt to that. But it's important to not focus on cannabis now, because this maybe will subside again. But we have to also look into the future and see how we can tackle all of these problems. We still have the whole substance market, and I'm not sure which number of NPS we're approaching right now. I think it's 1,000 approximately, and it's not going to be less complex, because these substances arise, and some came to stay, some don't. But we have to be ready for that. So when we want to combine still stationary drug checking for service users for cannabis, also ecstasy and cocaine, but also go to the festivals and be fast and be able to deliver the laboratory results and also the information as fast as possible, there is a few things that we that is from a technological point of view is very interesting. Everything is getting smaller, which is nice. Also automation, so we can actually use the advances in analytical sciences that actually work, also cloud-based and artificial intelligence search engines and hybrid devices. So a little bit technical, but want to jump over that, and there's like already not only a handful, there's like quite an array of different devices, methods that are handheld already. So not for drug checking, actually for airport security and law enforcement, but still we can make use of these advancements. And this is one, I'm sorry for that, I have to apologize. I'm in love with machines, and this is our automation process. But this also made automation. But the actual thing is, what can we do in order to tackle this new situation? Now the Pandora's box has opened. We have the cannabis and the synthetic cannabinoids. We still have the other substance that we had before. So Of course, we have a combination of several analytical techniques that we can use, which we also figured out in this project. Then continuous method development, sharing method developments and everything, and keeping in touch with that, it's absolutely mandatory. You can't just buy a device, put it there, and use it for 10 years. Absolutely impossible. You have to maintain, change your method maybe once every 2 months or so. Then integrated drug checking. Get in touch with the service users because they have information. If you say, well, we can't find anything on your cannabis, and they say, well, I had symptoms, I was in the psychiatric ward, then probably there's something wrong. But then it's too late and then we failed already. But it gives you quite a lot of information. Use the advances in analytical techniques. But what has proved to be one of the most important resources in this was international collaboration with especially this group, the TEDI group, and in this scanner project, also the EMCDDA, other universities and researchers. And that is something that can not be highlighted often enough if we don't work together and share this information and all the data that we acquire. We're not fast enough to do the harm reduction that we want to provide. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Anton, for your presentation and for showing us what we hope the future might hold for us when we have such amazing machines. And on no, we can ask. People are here, funders are here, so we can ask and see what happens. We can always ask. So, and also picking a little bit on the last thing you said about collaboration, we go without further delay to Mireia, which is here also in representation of the TEDI network, and it's even going to highlight more the importance of sharing information and how this can be a game changer for us. Mireia is a PhD in pharmacy, and she has been working as the director of the drug services at Energy Control since 2007. With more than 20 years of involvement in energy control, she has a long experience in field intervention and outreach work. Since 2007, she is also a collaborator at the Municipal Institute of Medical Research, directly involved in the scientific dissemination of new psychoactive substances. At the international level, Mireia is the vice president of NewNet Network and the coordinator of the Trans-European Drug Information, the TEDI network, since its inception in 2011. Well, and I'll leave to Mireia also to explain what the TEDI does and what's been doing since 2011 and how it was sort of a game changer, I think, for drug checking services in Europe and abroad, an inspiration for other services in other parts of the world. So thank you, Mireia.
And we are trying to finish. Perfect. Okay, thank you. So yes, today I would like to also to explain a little bit how these kind of services are working when we are working together, and it's my pleasure to present today the TEDI network, which is a network project that we are using all the knowledge, all the experience that we have learned during these years. With Anton, I think that we were working together with drug checking services for more than 20 years. So all this experience is making that we can share these techniques, we can share our knowledge, we can share the trends. And nowadays we have 20 different drug checking services in Europe, and different kind of levels are in this network, but the best is that we are able to share all this knowledge and to trust in the way that we are monitoring. So we have, for example, the Swiss example, that they have the best technology that they can bring directly to the clubs. They are using a similar system that Anton was explaining, this HPLC. And of course, Anton is one of the heads of and brave person who are able to use this van and go directly to the rave parties with the best technology. Also, in other countries, such as Portugal, Spain, we have other kind of conditions, other kind of budgets, but even less we are able to bring the low-cost techniques to the rave parties, and always we are working with laboratories, so we are always double-checking the things that we are doing and validating all these techniques, but we are able to bring simple techniques, chromatographic techniques that are able to distinct, to detect the different substances that we have, and also that are able to bring this kind of technology to the, for example, the Boom Festival here in Portugal. We are able also to go to, to bring our technology there. But also what we have, most of the partners of the TEDI network is what Anton was explaining, these drop-in centers, where we are contacting with people. These people are not under the influence of drugs. And then we have the time to talk, not only about the drugs that they want to analyze, also how they are using these drugs. And then these kind of drop-in centers are these early detection centers. So when people are coming and are beginning to explain how they feel with the drugs, the type of things that they feel that should be better, and also is a very nice way to help people to reflect about themselves, about their uses. And also when they are declaring that probably they would need some extra help, we are happy and we are finding connections to rehab centers or to more specified places where they can talk about this consumption. So is a first stage, but also is a way to try to avoid that these people are entering in this kind of situations that are very difficult, and that if they are not able to share these kind of situations, then are beginning more and more complicated. So with all these kind of services, the TEDI network nowadays is a monitoring tool from these recreational settings. So the kind of information that we are getting is directly from the final user. And since 2018, and thanks to the collaboration with the MCDA, we are also able to participate in the European Drug Report, to report regularly, and nowadays the TEDI network is part of the monitoring system of the MCDA. And with this help and this support, we are also trying to monitor these specific things that we can detect in these final users. For example, this example that Anton was mentioning, last year, at the end of last year, we were able to also publish this trend about these synthetic cannabinoids that were adulterating cannabis. Mostly this cannabis is mainly CBD, so the effect, the psychoactive effect, is due to the addition of the synthetic cannabinoids, but then the effect of these products is not as good as people would expect, and we were detecting several incidents, and this was a good example of how with the network we were able to detect and to help the other groups, because as Anton explained, this was not easy. And thanks to the situation, the critical situation of our German colleagues and our Swiss colleagues that were the first ones that they were detecting this, we were able to, all the drug checking services, check and recheck our methods. And finally, by April 2020, 9 different drug checking services in 8 different countries were detecting this trend. In Portugal and Spain, we were not detecting this trend, but we can be sure because we were checking everything and we were under this network that also helped us to be aware about the things that were happening. In Portugal, I think that will be the same situation, but for example, in Spain, we are producers of cannabis, so this kind of trends is easy that you are detecting more in the countries where the cannabis is arriving later. So we were analyzing more than 1,000 samples, and in this more than 1,000 samples, we were detecting in 270 samples this specific cannabinoid that nowadays is under legislation. So nowadays we are detecting other kind of synthetic cannabinoids when we are analyzing these samples. And all these cannabis samples, as I explained, were having really low amount of THC, and also we were reporting one serious health incident requiring hospitalization after the use of this product. Also, this was a very challenge situation for us because we are mainly analyzing synthetic drugs, so we are not used to reach these cannabis users. And with this kind of information, this kind of detections, also this was a big challenge for us to try also to reach these also users that, of course, is another scenario when you are detecting a super potent synthetic drug in a cannabis in a natural product. You need to do it accordingly. So this is one of the most important things, the ability that we have to contact with these people that are taking drugs, and the connecting feeling and the connecting relationship that we have with them, so they are able to express, they are able to open, and also they are trusting a lot these kind of services. So for us, it's very useful tool to contact with these people who are taking drugs. And this is an article that we're publishing our Dutch colleagues from the drug checking services that they have, the drop-in centers, and the kind of people that we are able to reach are highly educated males in their 20s with no migration background. We need to be also aware about the kind of people that are visiting these kind of services. Most of them, they already took drugs, so only less than 1% indicate that they had never used any of the 20 drugs studied. And mainly they are using ecstasy, and the average of use is more than 6 years. So drug checking services are a very valuable tool for public health services because facilitates the access of this kind of people, and also to help to try to define this message, this short message that we can define together to try the use of the drugs during their career of drug use is with less